thank you very much, fellow Africans, and welcome to our today's episode of the Change for African campaign. And so, fellow Africans, being on Wednesday, it's all about our third pillar of the Change for African campaign, where we focus on matters to do with the African resources. And so, fellow Africans, to help us exemplify our third pillar of the Change for African campaign, being our 88th episode of the Change for African campaign, still will be the SDG target 6.4. Remember that the UNSDG goal itself is these are sustainable development goals, of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The goal itself is all about clean water and sanitation, but now we are using its key target 6.4 to help us exemplify our 88th episode of the Change for African campaign, and the third pillar of the Change for African campaign about the African resources. And so this SDG target is all about that to substantially increase water use efficiency across all sectors by 2030. This is a goal. It is a very because remember, water is a very vital component. So speaking about water and trying to bring it in the African context, because remember, these are United Nations thing, meaning it's a global thing. They're trying to have the global context, but then now in the African context, the situation is the situation is ravaging. The situation is not good. We have places in Africa where people have to go very many kilometers to be able to get a sip of water, to be able to get safe drinking water. And it's not even safe, in that context, we term them safe. It is safe for them, but then when it comes now to the requisite safe drinking water, it does not meet the conditions. So we are speaking about this goal with a lot of, care, with a lot of criticality in it, because it is a goal, it's a target that is yet to be achieved. It's a global thing, but there's still a problem here, because according to the statistics I'm getting, is that over 400 million Africans actually lack access to safe drinking water. That is a ravaging thing. That is a disheartening thing. That is something we are supposed, that is incumbent upon us as Africans to look at what are these things we can do in between this cycle to be able to make sure that the African people, those communities, we have societies in Africa, the African society, we have communities in Africa that lack access to this vital component. Water is a very vital component globally. But then in the African context, the situation is very worrying, because remember, in Africa, people speaking about this, remember, we have actually the largest desert in the world, the sub-Saharan, when they say about the sub-Saharan countries, under the sub-Saharan, the Sahara Desert is a very big desert. We have deserts in Africa. So these are some of the areas that are actually hugely impacted when it comes to accessing clean drinking water, and water for many purposes also. So this one is whereby we have the other areas. We have the longest river in Africa. Actually, we have the longest river, that is in Africa, the Nile River, and we have so many rivers. We also have these lakes. We have those lakes that are not saline. These are water sources that can be able to be utilized, and they can be formed in a way that they can be turned to being processed to make good drinking water for the majority of the African population, because water is a very vital component. So there is no way the people of Africa are lacking this vital component. This is an injustice. We need justice. We need some justice around this area. And so that is why the Change for African campaign is here, because remember, this is our 88th episode speaking about all these things that surround Africa, speaking about governance, the resources, the potential. So after this, now is the practicality part of it. What are we going to do? We are going to see on how, because remember, mostly the Change for Africa campaign is a movement aimed at civilizing the African youth. So what we are doing after this is to see on how now we are going to, because we believe this is a good, it's a well civilization part of it's well civilized communication, that or information being taken to these young people, so that after here, what can we do after speaking about people realizing, yes, we have a problem. So what is the practical, what is the action, the pragmatic steps we are going to take to be able to see on how we are going to rescue Africa when it comes to such conditions, because Africa currently, we are in a dilapidated condition. We we are in a condition whereby we have to make sure we have to do something. We have to do something to be able to change, because we have realized that we are facing the same problem. So once we realize we are facing a particular problem of the same problem, we develop the same intention towards curbing the same that particular problem. And that is why the Change for African campaign came to help us now get civilized. After civilized, now we have understood, then we come into the matters of seeing, then how are we going to now curb this problem that are facing Africa. So this is a SDG target that is very live and well and attended to in Africa, meaning we have attended to this goal, and this will call upon our actions. This now need actions from us. And remember, mismanagement of such a vital component, that such vital component, in Africa, of the water resource, leads to economic growth and food insecurity. Now we have a lagging economic growth because people are not able to get this vital component to do different things. But mostly we are speaking about the sanitation part of it, the cleanliness part of it, because this is also related to the health status of our people. Now this one is now interconnecting even our fourth pillar about the living standards also. Now these are things that are live and well. Let us see on how we can do this. We have the resource, the natural resource called water. How are we going to do to make sure, though it is sometimes domiciled, most of it is domiciled in one region or one part of Africa, or one part of a country in Africa, how are we going to see how that we are going to have a leveled, part of it whereby, though it is in one region, how are we going to supply this scarce resource, this vital resource, to everyone to be able to have some, to fill, the percent of this vital resource into their areas. So fellow Africans, allow me to end at that point. Let's meet tomorrow as we discuss about our fourth pillar of the Change for African campaign, all about the living standards of African people. This is our episode 88. Thank you and have a great time. Thank you.